What is going on today? So in today's video, I got the chance to speak with the two people that run Nori Athletics. So that is Michelle Petrovic and Novette Chua. And I've known these guys for a few years now. They're personal trainers and they both kind of competed in bodybuilding competitions, men's physique, bikini, stuff like that. So their backgrounds are mainly in fitness. That being said, the conversation that we had today was mainly around, the habits that we pick up, routines that we get ourselves into, and how those kind of play into effect and tie into our mental health. So we spoke a little bit about fitness, but this conversation was mainly about like habits, routines, and taking care of yourself and loving and forgiving yourself. So if you guys want to check out more stuff from these two, you can check them out on Instagram and Facebook, Nori Athletics, which I'm going to throw down in the description below. And you can find Novette at Novette_Royal_Chua on Instagram, which I'm going to throw in right underneath me in this video. And Michelle, you can find on Instagram as at Michelle Petrovic, which again is going to be right here as well. So you can go and search them up. But without further ado, let's jump into this conversation. Here's some advice that they gave to me with some struggles that I'm having right now. And let's let this conversation unfold. Enjoy. And one more thing. If you guys are liking these interviews that I'm doing and you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified when I release these interviews every single week. If not, just watch this video and enjoy. What's going on? I've got Novette and Michelle here. We got Nori Athletics.
Yo.
Yeah, you can do your own little intro. You talk. Shout out your Instagram and your Facebook and everything you do.
So what's going on? I'm Novette. This is Michelle.
Hello.
We're a couple, and we own a company called Nori Athletics, named after her dog, Nori. If you guys didn't know that, which means seaweed.
Seaweed in Japanese.
That's because her dog is a black Dachshund.
And my sister named him, and my sister is in Japan currently, and so she decided to name him Nori. Yeah.
So it's a dog that has a Japanese name that was born in the States.
In the States. Is a German type of dog because he's a Dachshund.
And speaks Serbian. Not speaks, understands Serbian.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so we're health and fitness coaches, or we like to more so call ourselves now habit coaches, because we've kind of derailed from the typical fitness style of coaching and realized that habits are far more important when it comes to wanting to achieve any goals and just feeling better about ourselves. So yeah, we're habit coaches. You can find us on Instagram, on YouTube, on podcasts now, because we started a podcast recently. And yeah, that's really about it.
What's your Instagram? What's your YouTube? What's your podcast? How can people find you?
So podcast is just Nori Athletics Lifestyle podcast.
Or Nori Lifestyle, yeah.
Nori Lifestyle. Instagram,
Facebook. It's just Nori Athletics. YouTube, Nori Athletics. So
Beautiful.
Yeah, just look up our name.
And then personal handle.
And then my personal is just my name, Michelle Petrovic.
And mine is
Novette.
Damn it! I keep mixing up my Instagram handle and my email. Okay, it's Novette_Royal_Chua. That's what it is.
Beautiful. I'm gonna throw all of those in the description of this video as well, so everyone will be able to find you. It'll be easy. But here's what I was gonna say, because we were just chatting before I started recording it, and we were talking about like being in prep and dealing with hunger. I don't know if you guys saw on my Instagram before I started recording this, but my diet has been absolutely garbage. It's gotten the best of me recently. I'm like fully addicted to carbs and sugar. Like one of those people where I'm like lightheaded after a few hours if I don't eat carbs, like I have to eat them throughout the day. And I'm eating pretty solid carbs. Like it's like a lot of rice and potatoes and quinoa, stuff like that. But I'm like so reliant on it. And if I don't have that, I go nuts, man. So like I always have I have fruit. If I'm feeling like garbage, I'll eat a bunch of fruit, like probably 2-3 bananas a day, apples, oranges, strawberries. But I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to make a big change. I'm going to start intermittent fasting and cutting out a bunch of my carbs, just to shock my body completely and just get rid of this a tendency. Do you guys have experience with either of those things, like cutting out carbs or intermittent fasting?
Oh gosh,
we
yeah,
have
lots of
we have
experience.
so much, like when you started talking of like all
I
these
was like,
so
what?
much
This is
ideas are like it's running in my head because this is exactly what we work
I
on,
need
right?
tips. I need tips.
So dude, for me, like the number one thing is like if you feel like you're eating junk food or you feel like you're eating like shit, you gotta like let go of that and be like, hey, it is what it is right now, like I'm hungry. And for you to be like, you eat something and then judge yourself after is gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the first thing I would like say to myself if I was in your position, I would be like, you know what, there's something happening in my head, in my body, and it's not because I don't have the willpower, it's not because I'm a piece of shit, it's not because I'm being lazy, but it's because of my body and my brain is craving nutrients. That's what it is, right? Like there's something going on chemically in your body that's making you crave carbs, that's making you makes you sleepy or makes you lethargic. There's something going on there that you just don't know.
And it's the habits that you're practicing around your nutrition that are affecting those habits that you're trying to change. And I like what Novette said, is that you just have to really forgive yourself and realize that you're a human being. And so to stick to like, you know, not eating any carbs at all, or like, to stick to that, it's kind of, you're making it really hard for yourself to be satisfied with yourself and happy with your actions, right? And what you mentioned though for carbs, I don't even see those as bad carbs, really.
No.
They're all good carbs, right? They're all healthy, and we actually need them to function. So, I would personally not even see that as a bad thing. I would encourage you to listen to your body and see what it's asking you to eat. And then, look at the other factors that could be affecting it, like Novette said, because it's not just, like he said, it's not just willpower. It's not just like you not having the ability to say no. There's something around what you're doing there. Maybe it's like your sleep or your stress or just pure boredom, right? That cause you to start acting on those habits. And you just have to look at that and start to change those things first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what I noticed was like I got hungry because I'm someone, I wake up pretty early and I go to bed pretty early as well, and I start eating really early, like pretty early, because I usually wake up, I do a little bit of cardio, like I go for a run or a bike ride, and then I eat a big breakfast right away. So that's like before 6 a.m., 7 o'clock. Dang. I've already eaten like a big meal. Well, it's kind of like, it's good. It was really good for a long time, but now I'm finding at like, you know, around 1, 2, 3 o'clock, I have like this huge crash of energy. And so many people have told me, like, it's like because you're eating carbs way too early in the day, or you're eating meals too early in the day, or whatever it is. So what I thought was, you know, I'll keep like the good carbs, obviously, like potatoes. I love having potatoes, like roasted potatoes, dinner, breakfast. I'll have them any meal. Like rice I'll have for lunch a lot of the time. And then fruits throughout the day is like my favorite thing. But I'm going to keep those like clean and then just try and eat like from 11 to 7, I was thinking. Because then I usually go to bed at like 8:39 anyways.
I kind of want to like expand.
What do you think about that? Yeah, what do you think of that?
I want you to expand like where you think the problem is coming from. So instead of like thinking of, maybe it's just the food, but it could be everything else around you that you're not looking at, you know? I wanted to ask you, what do you do? Like you said, you get lethargic around like noonish, like 12, 3. What do you do at that time? Like, where are you? Like,
I'm usually like, during the week, like recently, because I've got nothing to do. I've got like my job. I'm working in a restaurant right now and we're shut down. So I've just been either helping my dad out with like he's doing like renovations and stuff like that. So I've just been helping him. Any free time I have, I'll go and pick up lumber for him or whatever, and just help him out the best I can because he's done a lot for me. Or if it's a weekend like this, I'm just chilling. I usually do all my work by like this time, and then I've done my exercise for the day. I've done like all my reading and my work, whatever I need to do. And then I just get so tired. I'm like, oh, I'll do like the rest of my stuff later. I can nap for an hour. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do.
It's like I finish all my stuff for the morning. I usually wake up early, so I get after it. I do all my stuff before people like kind of wake up so that I'm done all my stuff by then, you know?
Do you get sleepy during the week or just the weekends?
Kind of both. And it's usually around like, 12 o'clock. It's right after lunch, basically.
Do you eat a big lunch?
I usually have like first meal is pretty big.
Yeah.
Like few eggs, some potatoes, some veggies, and then a little bit of fruit, and then some coffee. And then my second meal is like usually a little bit smaller. And then my third meal is like my big lunch. I'll have quite a lot of food again. And then I'm like tired, dead tired.
Okay. It could
you know
be,
what I mean?
Yeah, it could be because it's a really big meal. So what's happening then is like the blood is going into your stomach to try and digest everything you've just eaten. And so if it's a meal that's really high in carbs and high in fats, we tend to get really lethargic.
Yeah. Like we can tell you, we would like to tell you like this is the problem and this is what you need to like work on. But to be honest, there's so many factors. That's why I'm asking all these questions, and it's not all the questions. I haven't asked all the questions, sorry. Because there's like, okay, it could be the big lunch. It could be that because you wake up early and you've done all these activities and you've done so much work that your body just needs the recovery. Or it could be like maybe you're just sitting all day and your body or like your joints are all compressed and you're not getting enough oxygen throughout your body, and that's making you feel lethargic. I know I feel that a lot of the times where I'm like playing video games on like in bed and I'm just like this. And I know consciously I've been playing for like 5 hours and I'm falling asleep, right? And I'm like, okay, I know why I'm falling asleep. I didn't get enough oxygen. Water could be another thing. Haven't been drinking enough water.
Yeah.
Maybe like you're low in serotonin, you're not getting enough sunlight, maybe. So there's there's all these factors. So like we kind of want to, like what we do with our clients is like we get them to go through like a checklist. Be like, hey, did you get your water? Did you get your sunlight? Did you go for a walk? Like, did you get your sleep is number one. So like that's freaking amazing that you said you sleep early and then you wake up early. So I think
I'm a stickler about my 8 hours, man. It makes me laugh when people say, oh, I don't need 8 hours. I need 5 hours. I need to, I could do with 4 hours. I used to be like that, man. There's no way. After I started sleeping 8 hours every night, there's no comparison.
Right?
No comparison.
Like there's so much benefits to it. It's like, I know you always talk about like mental health and like anxiety and depression, like sleep, I think is the number one thing to like kind of look at when you start feeling this way. I think like one of the biggest reasons people get into depression and anxiety is because like they're just not recovered. Their brain's not recovered, and they have to handle all these things, and it can get overwhelming when you're not at like your most optimal level, right? I always do this. I ran on and I forget what we're talking about.
So in terms of sleep, you're getting the 8 hours, and when you wake up, you feel like you've rejuvenated, like you feel
I'm ready to go first thing in the morning.
That's perfect.
I don't like I know it's not relatable because not a lot of other people are like this, but yeah, I'm fired up every morning. I don't know why. I'm just ready to go. I think it's sleep. Like
it is sleep.
No, it is.
I'm just ready to go.
You're sleeping in the optimal like window too, because
hold on. What time do you sleep?
For me, right? I don't think everyone else can do this. I think that it's like kind of everyone's got their own little pattern, but I usually screens off and I get ready for bed at 7:30, and then that's when I like kind of read and journal, and then like 8:30 I'm lights off, I'm in bed, and then I usually fall asleep by 9.
Dude, that is perfect. That's kind of what I expected. Even I can't do that. I can't fall
not everyone can. The thing is, you know, not that I'm like antisocial, but I kind of like having my alone time. So mornings and evenings are my alone time. And there's not much to do right now. So it's kind of easy for me to just kind of go to bed early. The sun, and now it's getting harder because the sun stays up later, but the sun's down by like 9 o'clock anyways. There's nothing really to do. And I like waking up early, and I like having my 8 hours of sleep. So it's necessary.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm up at, you know, like 4:40 during the week, and then weekends I'm like 5:30.
That's perfect too. Like you're actually sticking to a good schedule as well, which is what's important. I think what tends to throw us off is that we don't follow a strict schedule when it comes to weekends, and so we tend to sleep in on the weekends sometimes. And if you really want to optimize your sleep and you want your sleep to be good, then sticking to waking up within an hour of the time always is
it's harder though, because you guys are a couple, man. When you're like when you're like waking up and you like have the option to lay in bed and cuddle and just kind of have and enjoy the morning. Like you know, I'm single right now, so it's just like wake up and I'm already thinking about the things I have to do. Like, you know, I have this routine set for myself where I'm just kind of motoring away every day. You know?
That's great, man. Like ever since this quarantine thing started, that's when I kind of like I shut off. I almost treated it as like a vacation. That was me. Like for me, I'm like you. I like my alone time. I like my alone time in the morning. I like my alone time in the evening. Like if you call me in the evening, or text me, I'll probably just look at it and then just throw my phone like behind me.
Yeah, I'll reply to it tomorrow when I'm ready.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I turned off, and then I've been sleeping late. Like I'm gonna tell the truth. Like I haven't been on top of my health and my wellness. Just been doing all about, like I told you, I'm like playing video games right now. We're still working on the business, but I know like I'm not where I want to be at that point. And
you've gotten better.
Yeah, slowly, right? This is where the habit thing comes in. Like it's perfect. Where like I see myself like, okay, I'm going down, and anxiety is getting up there, depression is getting up there too. But it's good that I'm conscious of it, right? And I know where it's coming from. So that's where it gives me the power to like, okay, I have these things are normal. Everyone goes through it, and at least I know how to kind of get out of it, even slowly. Yeah.
You seem really self-aware, man.
Yeah, it could be. It's good. It's a good thing and a curse at the same time, because I'm always like this, right? I'm always running. When I'm under pressure, I tend to like judge myself without even knowing. I am self-conscious, but then there are also times where if I'm in the middle of something, I won't realize what I'm doing.
I think what hurts him too is that he has really high expectations for himself. So when he's not doing what he should be doing, he kind of sees that, and then he puts himself down more, and he's like, well, whatever. And then he just continues in that, like, staying in that place almost sometimes, because he feels like he's like, you know, screwed up his day type of thing. So he might as well just like kind of stay in that spot.
Yeah. It's kind of like,
I've noticed that.
It's kind of like when you have a nagging parent just like over your shoulder the whole time. It's like, hey, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be doing this. You know better than that. You should be doing better. But what ends up happening is you kind of like, I believe that people don't like being told what to do. So like when you tell someone to do something, you're just like, you get demotivated and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, but if it comes from you, yeah, right? But if it comes from you and it's your idea, where it's like, oh, I want to do this. This inspires me, or like this will be good for me. Then you start taking action, right? Which what happened to me like maybe like a week and a half ago, where I kind of like, you know what, I'm ruining my life right now by telling myself these things. What if I'm just like, you know what, it is what it is right now. It's okay to play video games. It's okay to like not read books. It's okay not to like call people. It's okay not to text back. You know, everything is okay. Just accept it. Right. And then what I actually became more productive after that. It was the weirdest thing. I started reading books. I started like, I see things on Instagram that like, I don't know if you ever heard of Jim Quick. So he's like a guy, he's he worked with like the cast of X-Men. He works with like celebrities, CEOs, and he's known for being able to learn quick, right? And I just saw it on
teaching
Instagram.
others how to learn quick.
I saw it on Instagram, and I'm like, I'm gonna grab this free book. No, it's not free. I had to pay for it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna teach myself how to learn faster, read quicker, and that all came from me accepting myself during that time.
Beautiful, man. How about you, Michelle? How you been dealing with this time?
I have this, I guess, way of dealing with things is that I always have to keep moving. And so when this happened, I was like, I can't just sit. Like, I'm not the type of person to sit and not do anything. So I actually made myself more busy. And in turn, staying at home, though, for some odd reason, I was expecting to be more stressed with our business because we're not working as much. But it's given me more time to do more things that I wanted to do. So I took up like other courses, I'm reading, I'm like doing more for our business, I'm finding out our core values for our business.
Like she did so much, like,
and a lot of
ridiculous.
like self-work too. So like really evaluating what I want to do, how I want our business to look, where are we going even. And it's almost been a blessing because I wanted to do these things. I felt like our business was just kind of, going day by day, but I needed a plan because I'm that type of person. And so this actually helped me a lot. And I haven't stopped working since. Like every day I'm doing something and I'm always creating, and it's given me time to create. And I think having that time now to create has allowed me to also then be motivated with the other things that was always hard for me to start doing. And nice. I try not to pressure him.
Yeah, because she's like, we have official days off, right? Like we have Friday and Saturday are days off, but she's still like, I'm just gonna do a little bit, but she ends up doing a lot. But I think that just comes from like she's just so aligned with what she needs to do that like it pulls her, and I'm not there. I'm getting there now.
Yeah, I see it slowly. It's hard though when you're in a business together though. And, I see him playing games and stuff. I'm like, well, I want to play games because I like playing games just as much. And then I'm working and I'm enjoying the work. But then I see him doing that. I'm like, it's not fair. You should be working too. You would like do something.
But there's also there's also the other side of the coin where like when I see her working, I'm like, I should be doing something. Then that's when I like read. Like I'm like I'll read for like 10 minutes and I'll go back to my video games.
Yeah.
That's nice though. Yeah, I you know what? I'm kind of like a blend, honestly. Like I'm kind of like a blend of the two, because when this whole thing started off in, like February, March, gyms were still open early March. I was still going to the gym every single day, and my mentality was, the more things that shut down, the more I kind of have to try and keep myself going, because I'm somebody who will sit and be stagnant and play video games and watch, anime or like Netflix, and I'll just sit there. And I am someone who will love it for like a week, tell myself like it's an all right thing to do, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And then for me, that state kind of puts me into depression. Everyone's got their own little like cycle of, whatever they deal with, but that state puts me into depression. So I knew that I had to keep as busy as I possibly could. And so like I'm kind of like you guys. Like I like patterns and I like habits, and I like kind of like analyzing little things. Like I said, like earlier this year I did a month without video games, and then I did a month completely sober following that, just to like kind of completely like shock my body. So literally nothing, like nothing, like no smoking, no drinking, no nothing for a month. And then just like kind of just shocking my body in different ways, just trying different things out with sleep, just like
do you find
myself busy.
Do you find things come out when you do those, like when you do those like month cleanses of like whatever you decide to take out? Do you find like something comes out of it?
Yeah. every time I've done it, there's like little benefits and then little things where I'm just kind of like stunned about. Like the first one, like the video games thing, I kind of realized a couple things. It wasn't necessarily the video games that were the problem. It was like my relationship with them. Because the first week when I cut out video games, I just replaced the habit with watching like YouTube videos. So like it was like, okay, well, this wasn't actually the issue. You know, I removed it, but that wasn't the issue. Like the problem was like my distraction and, you know, how much attention I would spend on things that were important to me and then things that, you know, weren't as important, but were just kind of like addictive, you know, like it's just like instant gratification versus like actually like investing efforts and time into something. So it was kind of like it was a metaphor. So it was kind of like a nice thing to learn. I kind of realized that a lot of the things, it's funny that you guys said that in the very beginning about like my relationship to carbs. It's what I'm about to say is kind of similar to what you guys are saying. Sometimes we try and like isolate something that we think is the problem, and then we'll be like, oh, I've been working so hard at getting rid of X, Y, or Z in my life, but that's not actually the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just like what you think could be the problem, or you want to be the problem, or whatever it is. Like that's always something that I've realized. Like doing the month sober wasn't that difficult for me because I don't really drink anyways. So it didn't really like, I mean, it was kind of difficult like socially, but I have pretty cool friends. Like if I said, you know, like I'm passing on having a drink tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't really
that's
care.
great, man.
It wasn't difficult for me. It wasn't something that I really needed to do. It was just something that I wanted to, like, I was like, oh, I'm just going to do it 1 month completely, nothing, like no toxins in my body just to flush my system, you know, like, so
that's good.
I don't know.
That's awesome.
That's kind of my takeaway from those.
Did you do the video game fast first, or is it the that first, right? What was easier?
Being sober, because it's just kind of how I am anyways. It doesn't really matter. Like I'm usually sober.
What are you gonna do next after?
I was thinking I'm gonna do intermittent fasting for a month and just see how my body reacts. I haven't weighed myself yet. I had my first meal. So I've only had one meal was at like 11:50. I started cooking at 11, so like 11:15ish. I had a pretty big meal.
Dude, I think you started something. You should like document this, because you're like, you did the video game fast and you're like, oh, I can do that. What else can I do?
It's just random challenges. Like you know, I don't know if you guys see on my story on Instagram either, but I go for bike rides every day. That started off as like a little like challenge with my buddy in like, I think November or December. And I was like, I'm just going to ride my bike or do like any cardio. That was my goal, was just to do cardio in the morning, like first thing in the morning every single day, just so I could force myself to wake up earlier. And then I didn't get rid of the habit. Like I just love it. So that was one that stayed. That was pretty nice.
That's awesome.
What do you do after the bike ride?
You know, it's different every day. Like for the most part, I was like, okay, so for the first few weeks of this like isolation stuff, I was like really choked about not having a gym. So I was like, I need to still do resistance training regularly. So at that point, my daily routine was, you know, go for a bike ride or a run, and then do 200 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, and 150 crunches in as few sets as possible. So like as fast as I could get it done. That would be my morning routine, like before breakfast. It would be like cardio and then do that. And that would take like probably an hour and a half.
What do you look forward to after doing all that? Is there something that you give yourself? Like if you like breakfast. Is it breakfast? Like you actually look forward to breakfast?
I absolutely look forward to breakfast every day.
Like you're like, okay, once I've done this, I get my breakfast. Yes. Yeah,
breakfast and a shower. Shower is like another good big reward. I love showers, man. Like a hot shower, a nice hot shower.
Have you ever read the book Power of Habits?
You know what? It's interesting. I haven't read it, but I'm reading like one of the next books that author wrote, Charles Duhigg. right?
It's Power of Something. I remember.
Power of a Habit is written by Charles Duhigg.
Yeah, his other book was Power of Something. I forget what it was.
The one I'm reading now is Smarter, Faster, Better. Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg.
Okay.
Same
Never
author.
mind. I screwed up the title. Never mind. I was wrong. I was thinking of something else. But the reason why I mentioned that was because of
Atomic Habits, maybe? Think of Atomic Habits, James Clear.
I haven't read that, but that's something she wants to read.
It's a good one. I just finished it. I had the audiobook.
We got I read some snippets of the book. What did we get from that? Habit stacking. That's what we got from it.
Oh, okay.
But with the Power of Habits, the one thing I got from that is
habit stacking was from Atomic Habits.
Yeah. But with this one, there's a cycle of how you can actually create a habit and make it stick. Because on the internet, they tell you you have to do it for a week or 21 days.
Yeah, 21 days.
Yeah. But what if you can't even do it the first day, right? How are you going to do 21 days or 10 days of it, right? So that was a question I was asking myself. And then one of our clients actually gave us the book and I was reading it. And there's actually a cycle when it comes to
building habits.
Yeah, building habits. So what you were doing, I was seeing a cycle, and that's one of the reasons why you were able to stick to that. Was so you have an alarm clock, yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So alarm clock is, so there's a trigger, there's a routine, and there's a reward, and that's how you can create a habit. So that your trigger is probably your alarm clock. The routine is you go for your bike ride and then you go work out, and then the reward is your hot shower and the breakfast. And your mind kind of goes, okay, if I do all these things, I get a reward from it, because I believe that we all do something to gain something. I believe, even if it's okay, I'm donating to a charity, or I'm helping an old lady cross the street. You're still receiving something. You're still if you're helping someone cross the street, an old lady crossing the street, and you're receiving maybe it kind of tells you that you're a good person. Right, it gives you information about yourself, so that's a reward. So that's something you gain. So with I think that's how our minds work. And when I start to stutter when I think too fast. That's how our minds work. We do something, if I do this, I'm gonna gain that, and that's what you've been doing, maybe subconsciously. Okay, I'm gonna work out, and I know because if I do this, I'm gonna get something really, really good right after.
So remember when you were talking about instant gratification, right? That's your form of instant gratification, because in reality, you can't really see, a bike ride or working out, the results of that right away. But over time you can, but then you can create these instant gratifications to tell you that you're doing the right thing, and tells your mind, because habits are actually found in a small part of our mind, of our brain. That's where our habits stay. So there was a study of this man that he had brain damage from disease or something, but only a small part of his brain where the habits are built was kept okay. So he was doing everything throughout his day that was habitual, waking up, brushing his teeth, going for a walk. That still stayed, and he kept doing that. But could he remember what someone says to him a minute ago? No.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So it's crazy how strong our habits are. So that to you is now a habit. It's just so habitual for you to wake up, do something, and then eat.
Watch. Right? If I say, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you tell yourself tomorrow that okay, I'm just gonna not do anything, literally tell yourself not to do anything, you're gonna, and if my alarm clock goes off, I'm just gonna stay in bed. You won't be able to. You'll have the urge to do it.
Yeah. I've done it a few times now, where on a Saturday morning I won't set my alarm at all, and I'll still wake up at before 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
100%. That's just, my body is ready for it. It's just how I'm wired now.
And then you go through the routine, right? You just do your bike ride, you do your workout.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So now when you're fasting, you're basically gonna have to create a new routine.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to create a new trigger, a new the routine. It would be fasting, and then a new reward, which is your food. But
I had the same meal just later on.
Yeah.
Had the same meal just later on. Yeah, today was the first day. Like, so last night I was watching a bunch of like YouTube videos, and it was mainly about like fitness and stuff, and it was guys that were talking about the two benefits that I kept hearing. It was just kind of playing in the background as I was doing work, but the benefits I kept hearing were the afternoon nap that wasn't necessary anymore. They just didn't have that, and having like the waves of like attention and energy throughout the day. And I kept hearing these guys talk about it, and then I started paying more attention to it, and I found out they were talking about, you know, like a lower carb, not like no carb, but like lower carb, and some sort of time constraint diet, like some sort of like, whether it's like some of them were talking about like a 5-day where you eat whatever you want, and then 2 days fasted throughout the week. So like maybe 2 or 3 days of eating, and then you fast for a full 24-hour period, and then a couple more days of eating, and then you fast for a 24-hour period. And then the other time constraint diet was like the intermittent fasting, where you're like maybe 8 hours of an eating window and 16 hours off kind of deal.
Yeah.
So they were kind of talking about those, and I was like, you know what, I've done it in the past, and I got pretty lean, but I wasn't as focused on macros, and I'm a lot more focused on micros now as well. You know, like getting all my vitamins in. So
yeah,
I think this time I'll be able to stay, you know, I lost a lot of weight, but I wasn't as strong, and I didn't really feel good when I did it before. It just kind of felt like a weird diet.
Yeah.
This time I want to actually like pay more attention. Like I'm already taking, you know, vitamins. I take iron, I take calcium, I take multivitamins, I take, you know, a couple different things in the morning. So I think this time I'll be able to, you know, maintain a bit more muscle, and hopefully get like the attention and the energy benefits.
Yeah, with intermittent fasting, you shouldn't lose muscle.
Yeah.
From the research we've done, like
I was eating donuts and stuff. Like I was eating like an idiot, you know, like I was classic gym bro. I was like, oh, I'm intermittent fasting, so I can eat like McDonald's breakfast at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, like I was gym bro last time. This time I'm, you know, I had like Brussels sprouts, potatoes, and eggs with a little bit of back bacon. Like that was my breakfast. You know, like it's a lot healthier, a little bit higher fat, but less carbs, right?
That was like me when I did a vegetarian diet. I was like, I'm gonna do a vegetarian diet, but I was eating like fried shit.
Yeah.
Like there's no meat in there.
Yeah, you restrict yourself in certain ways, so you just think you can ball out in other ways. Like I was eating donut. I can't even forget. Like I was. It was like a few summers ago, and I ended up going to the Calgary Stampede, and I was doing like intermittent fasting. So I wouldn't like, and I was drinking, I was partying, but 12 to 8 was my window. After 8, there was nothing but water in my body, like nothing. Yeah. But like once 12 o'clock rolled around, dude, I literally had donuts for breakfast one day, like at 12 o'clock. And my buddy was like, what are you doing, man? Like,
It's so good you point that out though, because it's actually what's important isn't when we necessarily eat, but it's what we eat. Mm-hmm. You're kind of instilling in your gut kind of what it will be like for the rest of the day, how it should run the rest of the day. And so if you eat something that's overly processed, high in sugars, your stomach won't run as efficiently as it will if you eat like, you know, a good amount of protein, healthy complex carbs, and like fats. So it gives your body the idea, okay, this is how we're going to digest today, this is how we're going to work. So that's why you might notice, like on the days where you started eating off like really poorly, right, and your first meal was maybe donuts, that whole day you might aim for like not so good foods. I don't want to say bad foods because I don't like using that term, but you won't aim for like, you know,
I think
those,
processed
like,
sugars are pretty bad. Like you can just say like they're bad.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion, I can just say it. Like maybe you won't, but I think they're bad.
They're like bad for your body, but so good for your soul. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I mean bad in the sense that like it's a problem, man. Like I was fully addicted. Like I'm fully, I can't say past tense. I am, you know, I'm still thinking about sugary snacks right now, but I'm just going to say like, yeah, every time I have a sugar craving right now, it's going to be like a little bit of blueberries or strawberries. Like I'm going to try and stay away from bad
So
sugar.
you see, that's going to be your, so when you have those cravings, that's a trigger, right? And your new routine, instead of grabbing for like something processed,
Oreos,
a processed sugar, would be grabbing fruit. And then so you can see how that's like the new routine, and then your reward would obviously be how you feel. Like even just like being proud of yourself for eating that over like eating an Oreo is you gratifying your action, right? And you rewarding yourself. So that's how habits are created. And I know that like sounds so weird when you separate it like that, but it kind of gives it more science behind how we act.
Yeah, 100%. Really cool.
I don't know about you guys, but I love like biohacking. I love brain hacking. And it's so weird, like when you feel like you're supposed to do something, but if you actually do the opposite, that opposite option actually works better. That's for me, right? So like with you, if I was in your situation, what I actually tell my clients is like, you know what, instead of removing or restricting, why don't you add something instead?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. So like if I tell you like, dude, you're not allowed to eat donuts anymore, you'll be like, okay, I can probably do that for like a month maybe, but then you'll start to like turn to like a drug addict.
You crave it, yeah, you crave it.
Donut. But what if I tell you like, okay, you can have that donut only if you reach your protein intake. If you finish your protein intake, you'll be able to have your donut. But the trick to this is like protein is like, they call it the magic macro because it does so many things. Like, yeah, it builds muscle recovery, but it also warms up your body and it keeps you satiated. That's alongside
for keeping you full.
Obviously alongside with sleep, right? You have to have sleep intact first. So, and then when you do this, what ends up happening is like, okay,
you're so focused on getting the protein in, and you're staying so full that those cravings for the sugars go away.
Actually go down. You will literally, I'm sure you had those days where you're like, there's a donut on the table and you're like, you won't even be conscious of it, but you've eaten well that day, and you'll look at that donut and you'll be like, I don't have to have it.
Yeah. That's how I talk about doing like my exercise in the morning and then having a big healthy breakfast. I always say like one benefit to it is it sets the tone for the rest of your day. Like every decision you make after that is based off of the first few actions you do in the morning. So like I know if I got up in the morning and I went for a bike ride, like in my head, I'm like, oh, I don't want to ruin that. So like for the rest of the day, I just keep doing like I'll make more health conscious decisions. Not like more than the average person. I mean, more than if I didn't do it, you know?
Yeah, because you created a win right in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. And it's all about creating wins, and that's what keeps you going.
Yeah, momentum for sure.
You ever heard of the 80-20 rule? So like there's
20 rule.
Yeah, so like there's 80-20 rule when it comes to food, right? Like 20% like junk food, 80% like good food. But there's also like the 80-20 rule where if you can do the 20% of the work, it will actually give you 80% of the results.
Mm-hmm.
So like let's say your morning routine, that's like 20% of probably your day of your effort during the day. But because of that, it made that 80% easier and kind of gives you the results of 80%.
Yeah, like it compounds throughout your day.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say earlier. Is like I think a lot of these habits I've built for a while. I put it into this perspective. For a long time, I never saved any money. Like for a long time, I never saved anything. Like I was just making money and then spending it. I never thought about saving it. And I got really, really mad because one of my buddies, who's the same age as me, put a down payment on an apartment to buy it. And I was like choked because I was like, how do you have that much money? He's like, dude, I've been saving since we were 16. Why haven't you been? And I got so mad because he kind of explained to me how, you know, compounding works. And I felt like an idiot. So I was like, how can I apply this to the rest of my life? So anytime I have like an action that I think is going to make a positive compound, then I'm excited for it, you know? Like, that's why it's kind of easy right now for me to create these positive habits, just because it's like, okay, like I'm thinking about, you know, how can I make myself happier in the future? It was kind of something I developed when I was like really depressed, because I got to a point where I was like, you know, I'm not going to be happy right now. So how can I make the future better? Because I'm sick of this. That's like how I felt, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah.
I got addicted to that. I got addicted to it.
Yeah, because you know you're able to create that, right? And it just keeps you going because you know that there is something at the end of the road. And that's why goals are so important, right? I think that if you're just acting without any goals, you tend to get lost, right? And you tend to not even want to do anything. And that's where sometimes depression also comes from, is that we're not looking into the future. We're just kind of stuck in the past and we have no sense of direction. So when you created those goals, you gave yourself, you instilled in yourself that you have more to you and that there's more to life and that you can do so much.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think I saw the compounding effect of my negative habits. And I was like, well, if this is working so much against me, like there's got to be some way I can use it to work for me.
Yeah.
You know, like all of my negative habits, I seem to see the benefits of. I looked at my bank account, or I looked at, you know, how I felt, like my emotions, different things. It was like, this is pretty, you know, pretty related to the habits that I have. I've got some pretty negative habits in terms of like self-care and, you know, the conversations I have with myself. So I think once I saw that, then I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to manipulate this to make like positive compounds.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you know, when I started, you know, looking more into like organizing my finances or doing my exercise in like some sort of like a structured way, paying a bit more attention to like what I eat, things like that. I was actually going to ask you, Novette, because you seem really self-aware the way you were talking earlier. Do you meditate, or do you journal, or like what's your sort of like reflection process look like?
So I've been meditating and journaling for a while, for years, but I actually recently stopped. I stopped because I wanted to see like, okay, how can I kind of control my mind without having to meditate, because I forgot who it was. Someone said, like, if you meditate all the time, that's just you, like, that's you clearing your mind. That's like you kind of like just being in peace, right? But you can't be in a meditative state for 24 hours, right? I feel like meditation has become a religion now, but I use it as a tool. Like, I'll have days where I'm like, okay, if I really need to like be on point, or like if my mind is just like, it won't stop running, then I'm going to like meditate. But I think like I replaced meditating with cold showers. So like,
Nice.
Yeah. So with the cold shower, it kind of forces me to be able to survive under pressure, because you're in there, you're cold, right? You don't have time to think about like, oh, you're a piece of shit, you didn't sleep like early last night, you didn't, like, your mind kind of goes like, okay, you gotta fucking breathe, you gotta breathe, slow down your breathing.
Yeah.
Like, so like she hears me like in the morning where I'm like, I'm just like, look at that, right?
Yeah, I've done it, man. I know exactly what you mean.
Just like,
why I appreciate hot showers now.
Yeah. And then my reward is like, so I use video games as a reward. So I'm like, those were my thoughts. I'm like, I still want to play video games. I don't want it out of my life. I still love it. Right? How can I control it or use it as a tool? So that's what I do. I'll play just like a little bit for like, I'll set a goal for that game, and then once I'm done, like, I'll stop. But yeah, the cold shower kind of, it changes my mood, it changes my energy, it reduces the inflammation in my body, and I'm just like, and I'm in a very good mood right after that, and I can use that as momentum versus like meditation. Like I can get into a meditative state if I'm mentally strong in about like maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. But like when I compare it with cold showers, I think cold showers are like really like boom. Plus, it kind of gives me, it's a huge win, and it's like it's a scary thing to do too. Like I don't know if you remember when you first start doing it, you're like, you turn it on, or like it's different each day. Like if you're feeling strong, you're in there like I'm gonna go in and just do it. But there are also days where you turn it on. It's like okay, 5, 4.
Yeah.
I think. Hold on, I need a minute. I'm gonna go.
Start,
I'm gonna poop.
start with like the warm, and then you just like kind of yank it all the way to cold.
Yeah.
You just brace.
Yeah.
Or did you ever like another thing I would do is I would set it to like kind of warm. I'd get in, and then I would just slowly, gradually twist the knob, like just like a little bit, try and get my body to adjust.
That's what I tried to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal.
Cold showers don't work for me. He's done buckets, like he pours a bucket of cold water.
I've done that, but like right now I'm really loving
I don't like that. I like the cold shower.
Yeah. I can get into it right now. Like it actually became a habit where I'm like I'm gonna do like a warm shower, like and then gradually go into a cold one. But then my body goes, no, just do it, man. Just do it. Turn it on and then just jump in. Like do like and so like this other person in my head goes like, okay, we're gonna go for like 30 seconds, okay? No, I don't want to go 30 seconds. Okay, what about 20? What about 10? Okay, let's do 10. All right, let's do 10. 10 seconds, right? And that 10 seconds actually turns into like 30 seconds. And it turns into like me like putting on shampoo in my head. I'm like, I'm already in here for 10 seconds. I can like go more, right? I tried telling myself, okay, we're going to stay in here for 2 minutes. I only did it once and I didn't do it again. Right? So like, I'm like, okay, 10 seconds is my base. As long as I do 10 seconds, I can probably do more. And I've been consistent with that. It's crazy.
What takes longer, you think, a cold shower minute or a treadmill minute?
Treadmill a minute. Oh, wait.
That's longer?
No, you're right. Cold shower.
I think cold shower, man.
Cold shower 1 minute, yeah.
That's savage. I would always do like 15, 20 seconds tops. Like, I didn't do it for very often. I was kind of like, not used to it, but I was used to the idea of it because of like playing sports and kind of showering in not so awesome places, you know, like hockey rinks and rugby fields don't really have the best showers either. So you kind of like, I kind of got used to whenever I had to shower in a cold shower when I was like growing up as a kid, like playing sports and stuff, I devised like a little plan where I would just jump into rinse and then soap up outside and then jump into rinse after. So I got used to kind of doing it, and it was something I used to actually not like hot showers because I didn't like how hot and steamy it got. I was like, this is weird. I didn't like it. Now I appreciate them more.
That's so funny you said that. Actually, I'm starting to like think back and notice like when I was a kid, I actually liked cold showers. It felt like I was in a swimming pool. But now I think like it's just from like going through life with all the hardship and the stresses, and you just want to feel comforted by something warm, right? So you just sometimes you just turn it on and you just stay there for like, I don't know, like 20 to half an hour, and you just like, it's just your thoughts going and it's just warm, and you haven't even like touched the soap or shampoo yet.
But we don't live in the hottest place ever, right? So it's only hot like in like the summer months, like May, June, July, August. And then the rest of the year, it's kind of cold and rainy here. So, like, you want that warm water. You want that. You want to just relax. It's like going to a steam room, but in your house.
Exactly.
I can't do showers. So, like, for me, I can't do cold showers. Like,
I thought you meant showers.
No, I mean like I shower.
You don't shower?
What?
Oh my God, Novette, I feel bad for you.
I'm not judging. I was just like stunned. I was like, what? You think, girl?
But what helps is like I like walks. Walks always help me. When we used to walk in like just in the park with Nori a lot, and being away from like the city and actually hearing the trees and not, cars, it was, you come in with all these stressors, and so many times like we would like go into arguments going in. And we would both like start crying, like we would just like yell at each other, and then we come out and it's just like all of this is out of us. And it was crazy because I don't think at that moment we didn't realize what it was doing, but then like when we look back at it now, it had its effects and it helped us a lot in the hardest times. It was actually when we were going through like the most difficult times in our business, we used that as like a weapon to just keep our minds sane and like keep us going, because there were times where we wanted to quit. Like running a business is no joke.
It was cool too, because there was this one time where like we really needed money, and then we went like, you know what, we'll go for a walk, and then after like 20 minutes, like a prospect texted me. He's like, hey, I want to join your program, and then she sent like the payment. While I was in there, I was like, whoa, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's the universe, man. It's the universe.
Yeah. And it's just like, it allows us to let go for that little moment. Like, it just like, you just let go of everything. We're like, okay, we'll go in there, no phones, no watches, no nothing. You just go in there with like no intentions besides letting go.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I think that's the only way that I can truly meditate. I can't sit down and meditate. I'm not that type of person. Like, he's tried with me. I can do guided meditation. And sometimes guided meditations are really helpful, or I put on a sleep meditation, and those seem to work for me. But I like to journal. I've been journaling now, and it comes on and off. I feel like I naturally pick up journaling when I need it, or when it's been helping me. And then at times when it's not working for me, I just naturally like don't do it. Like, you'll see the dates in my journal. They're not like every day. It's kind of sporadic. And now I've let go of the expectation, because before I had the expectation, I have to journal every day for this to work. I need to do this all the time. And now that I've let go of that expectation, it's actually helped me a lot. And I think it's finally doing the job it should be doing.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of how my journaling was as well. Like, when I first started, I was like, I got to do this every single day. And then I stopped doing it maybe for like a week or two. And then I'd come back and I'd do it every day for like 3 days. And then I'd stop, and then I'd do it again. And like, it was just like always sporadic. Now I'm finding that it's more of like a tool that I use just to organize my thoughts when I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Just something that I just do. Do you do like a checklist? Do you write like Dear Diary, like a story like style? Like, how do you write in your journal?
I write down gratitude and then an affirmation.
So you have like a template where you write down like what you're grateful for, and then
it's kind of, we use the 5-minute journal. I don't know if you ever used that before.
I've heard of it. I haven't used it myself.
Yeah, so that one has the template.
So it just organizes like what you need to write down. Because when I first started journaling, I can go on for like an hour. Like, once I start, it's like writing a book almost. I'm like, am I writing a fucking book?
I can do that too sometimes.
And then I heard about the 5-minute journal. It's like, okay, 3 things that will make your day great.
An affirmation.
Oh yeah, 3 affirmations.
And that's like the morning part. Yeah. And then there's an evening part.
Yeah.
Which is,
I think it was 3 wins.
3 wins. What are 3 amazing things that happen throughout your day? And then what's one thing that you could do better?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, so I think it was like 3 gratitudes, 3 affirmations, and then 3 wins.
And what's one thing you can do better?
Yeah,
something along that line.
Yeah. It just organizes everything.
Yeah, I like that. I like having some sort of a template like that as well. That's kind of how I started, was like I would start off with, I was working at the gym. I was working at Steve Nash, and I was there, and I would basically just journal in the beginning of my day, and that's how I organized my thoughts. So I'd think about like things I was grateful for, things I'm thankful for, like about myself, kind of like affirmations. Like, I'm thankful that I'm like healthy. I'm grateful for those types of things.
Yeah.
Like, I'm able to work out. There was a member at the gym that I was working at, and he was on a wheelchair, and he was there every single day. And I was like, man, this guy's limited, and he's still here. Like, my body can do pretty much anything, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, dude, I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
Now it's more of like a checklist. Like, I journaled this morning, and it was just like a bunch of things I need to do this weekend. Just like, it was just like a checklist.
No, that's awesome. Like, done. I think it changes as you change too, and I think you find what serves you at that time. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool to like look back in journals too and see like where you started and kind of where you are at now, and like it's you see yourself changing, which is really amazing. And it's nice to, I think I have all my journals. Do you have all your journals?
Yeah, I still keep them. I have so
much. It's really cool.
I'm on my second one.
Yeah, it's just freaking awesome. And I'm obsessed with affirmations. That's just like my go-to. Like, I actually have affirmations set as my alarms in my phones. So it pops up on my phone.
In your phones?
In my phone.
You're
in my phone. And they pop up, like, I have one for like 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and I think a 6 o'clock, and it's just different affirmations that I really want to instill in myself. And I think it's so important that you have these strong beliefs in yourself. And even if you don't necessarily believe them right away, the more you practice them and the more you repeat them to yourselves, you become that, right? Yeah. So you have every power to change your truth or your perception, right? And we tend to, growing up, I feel like we tend to have these negative beliefs about ourselves, and those tend to be so strong and overpowering, and they're negative I am statements. So it's about like changing those negatives into positive I am statements and like actually finding things that serve you, not to serve you. So
yeah, 100%. I think like the wording of them can actually be pretty important as well. Because when I first started journaling, every single time I would write in the book, I would write down the same thing every single day. And it was, you know, I will be happy and successful. And then I would sign my name. Like, every day, that's how I finished it. And then I don't know why, one day I was just like, why am I saying I will be?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Why am I saying I will be? So then I changed it to I am. And then I was just like, I am happy and successful. And that's what I wrote every day.
I just got chills.
Yeah. And then I don't even write it anymore. It's just something that's in the back of my head. It's like, oh yeah, I'm happy now. Like, that's what it is. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm happy every day, but it was just something that I used to think about. I would write down, I will be happy. Like I wasn't already, you know? Like it was just weird.
It's the weirdest thing, because like we feel like we need to get these things or like these identities from like the outside or from someone else, but I think it's actually everything is already in us, like especially like within us, like physically in us. But just think back when we were like young, when we were like just toddlers, like we were like the best like salespeople in the world. We would convince our parents to do things. We were just like saying whatever's in our head, right? But because of like society rules, social rules, like a lot of things got piled on under those beliefs, so they got like buried really, really deep. So all these things is just, I think it's us reminding ourselves of who we were, and like kind of peeling off the layers of those false beliefs, and then being able to find that again. There was this really great quote. Hopefully I don't butcher it. It was by Jim Quick, the guy I was telling you about earlier. And his quote was, "So we're like eggs. If an outside force hits an egg, it will kill it, right? But if it's an inside force that breaks that egg, that it starts life." You know what I'm saying? That's deep, right? I was like,
yeah.
Whoa. So like everything is already within us. We just have to like have to
break it out of us.
Be able to find the method or the way to kind of peel all the layers of the false beliefs and then use that.
I love it, man.
We as kids are invincible, right? Like there was no one that could stop us. We were just doing what we wanted to do. We had these dreams. We could be astronauts just like this, just by like the snap of our fingers. We were astronauts because we had like no one telling us that we were not, right? Like all of a sudden I was a bride. One day I was a bride, one day I was like a teacher, one day I was this. We could, like he said, we would convince our parents that we needed something, right? There was no one telling us we couldn't do it. And then, like you said, so many things happen, and it's just about bringing those things back and instilling belief in ourselves again that we had as kids, and like knowing that we are powerful human beings that are capable of so many things. So affirmations are super, super powerful. And I think that sometimes we don't realize, like you said, like we have these affirmations going in within our heads, and they could be so negative. Like even just saying, like, you know, you make a mistake, you're like, oh, I'm so stupid, you know, and like how often that comes into our head, and we're not even realizing that that's going on inside our heads, but that's actually hurting us a lot we just don't realize because we're so used to it. And I think when you start to become more self-aware, you start to realize like, okay, this is definitely not serving me for saying this, or like, I'm always late kind of thing. And then you realize that's a negative affirmation, right? They seem so tiny, so like promiscuous, like nothing, not really important. And then, but the more we do this, the more we say this, and the more that becomes us, it's hurting us, right? So it's really important to change that and practice the positive ones to overpower those negative ones.
Yeah, like compound effect, right?
I just read that book. Have you read that book, The Compound Effect?
Yes, I read it once.
So good, man. I'd recommend it for everybody.
Yeah. The lesson I got from the book was like, you just do, like people think like when you're doing something or like trying to learn an activity or trying to be successful or anything, it kind of goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
But it actually kind of goes like this, and then when you'll hit a point and then it goes.
Yeah. And like I used to think as well that I had to like absolutely crush everything all the time. Like I used to think, I was someone who like I don't know, I react well to extremes. That's the way I think about myself. That's why like I'm like intermittent fasting and cutting down carbs same time, like let's do this, because that's how my brain works. I react well to extremes. And like I started running with my bike rides, and I would try and run like 6K, 7K, 10K right off the bat. And I'd be able to do it like that day, but the next day my knees, my ankles would be done for, man. And that's kind of when I realized like the compound effect isn't about, doing massive things all the time. It's like, why don't you just run 2K every morning, 3K every morning? Like just see how that works, instead of like absolutely slaughtering yourself for 1 day, 2 days of the week. Like, why don't you just do the same amount of kilometers throughout the week, but you just do it like 2 kilometers a day, 3 kilometers a day?
Yeah. So not having that like all in or nothing type of mentality, but like,
dude, I still have that.
Well, it's just like still having it. Like it's like all in, right? Like I'm going to exercise every single day.
Yeah. It's
still an all in kind of thing, but it's like, remember when you were asking earlier, how can I start a habit if I can't even do it for the 21 days or whatever?
Yeah.
That's kind of my answer, is like, do it in a way that you can do it in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Like in Atomic Habits, he uses, I think it's called the 1 minute rule or something, but it doesn't have to just be 1 minute. Basically what he says is start like the process of doing a habit. If you want to read a book, just read a sentence every day. Just read a sentence every day. You could build that habit a lot easier than if you're like, okay, I'm going to read a chapter every day, because you'll be able to do it maybe 2 days, 3 days of the week.
Yeah.
That's not how starting a habit works. Like chances are you'll be able to read one sentence every day easier than you would be able to, read like a chapter every day. And then you end up doing it 2 times a week.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the same principle I've started using. It's just like the simplest way I can start a habit. And then from there, I know I'll get better if I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not setting these like super high expectations. And I feel like when we set really high expectations, we kind of set ourselves for possible failure. And then that hurts us, right? But when you're setting these like smaller goals, you're able to create wins constantly, and that's going to keep you going, and it's going to result in something more. And that's kind of what we always suggest for our clients too. Like if they're struggling with working out, we're like, okay, we'll just commit to like 10 minutes. Like just tell yourself you'll do 10 minutes.
Or
like
do 10 push-ups.
Or 10 push-ups even. And you'll see that eventually will turn into more, just because like you're already there, you're already doing it, you're already moving, and you're going to want to do more.
Yeah. And once you build the habit, like, I don't know, for me, once things get easy, then I'd always want to dial it up somehow. Like, like you were talking about the cold showers, Novette, you're like 10 seconds turns to 30 seconds. Like, you're like a 1 minute run could turn into a 10-minute run, no problem, because I start thinking about, like this is getting easy. I should try and push myself. What would happen if I did it for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Like what would happen? Like what's going to happen? That I think that's like one thing that kind of relates back to what you guys were saying earlier, like when you're a kid, you're like so carefree, you'll ask for anything, like nobody's told you not to do it. But when you're a kid, it's just also like you either don't see the risk or you don't care about the risk. Like there was a dangerous moment for myself when I was in like elementary school and I learned what swear words were. And so I would say them, and then at school they would just kind of yell at me. Like the teacher would just yell, and then like worst case scenario, they would tell my parents, and I would maybe get a little whack that night, or I would get yelled at, or whatever it was. And I kind of started to lose the fear of the risk. Like I didn't care. It didn't matter to me. And I would just swear whenever I want. Like, you know, it was a dangerous moment. Like you kind of like realize, like, you know, like little kids when they go like skateboarding and they're like jumping off of like stair sets and roofs and stuff like that. They just don't even care about the risk. It doesn't matter to them. And that's something like we kind of lose over time, man. Like,
yeah, it kind of ties in with like, curiosity too, right? As kids, we're like super curious. And I think we're always looking for like, oh, if I do this, what's going to happen? Like, and you keep testing the waters type of thing. Yeah,
you're pushing your boundaries. You're trying to find the limits of life, right?
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, we lose it as we get older. And I think like giving ourselves that back is super beneficial for us. And it will help change our lives for the better. Like when I decided to take these courses right now during quarantine, it was kind of like, oh, what's going to happen if I take it? And I was like, you know, just got to jump into it. Just got to do it. Like, now's the chance. Like, I'm not going to probably have another chance. And there's always a reward to, I think, any type of risk. Like, even if it doesn't turn out to be the way we wanted it to be, there's something positive about it. There's always something positive to find about it.
Yeah, a lesson of some sort.
Yeah.
I find that, you know, I like to tell myself I'm a lot more like I wouldn't say influential, but more powerful in my own life than I think. I put a lot of responsibility on myself. I think that I can control a lot more than I can control. And I think that there's a lot of lessons that can be learned if you kind of fail, or, you know, you take a risk and you kind of see the repercussions of it. There's always some sort of a lesson. You can't always control like every situation. Like obviously if you get fired from a job, or if you have some issues, like whatever it is, and you know, a lot of people would say, you know, they're being, you know, jerks, or maybe there was some sort of a miscommunication, whatever it is. But even if you think that you were in the right and someone else was in the wrong, there's still some sort of a lesson, you know, something that you can pull.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, you're not like the end all and be all. It's not like we're like completely masters of the universe in any way. Like I can't just like, you know, it's there's some things that are going to be put up to chance. So like you have to understand that, but there is still ways you can learn from failures, right? 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love what you said, that like we aren't masters. And I think, you know, letting go of control is so important too, because we as human beings want to control everything. And that's out of fear, right? It's out of fear that you want to control situations. And that's why this quarantine hurt so many people. Like, yes, there's like the people that lost jobs, and, you know, some even got sick. But besides that, there's some people,
died, man.
Yeah. But besides that, there's some people who were so hurt by this because it was out of their control. Like their routines completely had to change. And for a little while, we didn't know what the next day would look like, right? Will we be able to go grocery shopping, or will we not, right? And that hurt so many people. There's so much fear because they couldn't control that situation. And I think when you let go of, and you understand that sometimes you can't control things, like you just have to let the universe do its thing, and you know, and you trust that the universe isn't there to hurt you, that things just kind of feel smoother.
Like everything is happening for you instead of against you.
Yes.
Kind of switching perspective.
That was probably our biggest lesson that we learned this year in terms, and we learned that through our business. Like there was so many lessons we learned through our business, and that was definitely one of them. It's just like letting go of wanting to control everything and just kind of trusting, like if we literally can't do anything else. We can't. We just have to have faith or whatever, believe in whatever you believe in, that is going to end up all right, that you're not going to, it's not the end of the world, and that there is a light at the end of it.
Yeah. How have you guys been, like, fitness-wise throughout this whole thing?
I know my fitness could be better.
Yeah, same with mine.
But I've been doing, like, I think it's, like, pretty minimal stuff. Like, we would go for walks, try and get 10,000 steps. And then we would do our Zoom boot camps. So that's, like,
4 times a week.
That's pretty much, like, our biggest, like, workouts of the week. Right? Like, doing, like, 40
5
minutes
workouts
of, like,
a week is still more active than most people were, like, regular life, man.
Yeah.
That's still really good.
But because I'm I come from, like, a bodybuilding background, right? So that, like, it's still sitting in the back of my head where I'm like, you should be deadlifting this much, you should be doing pull-ups right now, you should, like, go buy some weights. Why don't you have a 6-pack? What's wrong with you? You know?
Yeah.
I think he carries, like, with me, I've finally been able to let go of that. But I think even as yourself, like, maybe you struggle with this, is, like, we carry a lot of expectations from ourselves that we had when we competed. Like, it's still within us. And dude, like, I can go into that for so long of, like, how much that affected me negatively. And I think it has affected him negatively too, is that, like, deep within us, we still have these, like, really high expectations that we need to do it this way. We need to, like, look this way because we've looked that way before. We need to be, like, that example of ourselves. Like, how can we not look like we looked like before? And I finally let that go, and it's been so good to let that go, and just not to have that pressure on me anymore, and I don't wish to look like I looked like before. Like, I have different intentions with my health and my physique now than I had then.
Yeah.
Much different.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with identity, right? I was talking to a couple, and you know what? Actually, I did a video with Aiden. I'm going to plug my own stuff. I'm going to be completely shameless about this, but I did a video with Aiden Brow. You guys can watch it as well. But we talked about this as well. Like, when we were bodybuilding, for me, it's less about, like, body fat and more about size. Like, I used to, like, love being, you know, I was pretty young when I was competing. I was only 18, 19 years old. So I liked being the young guy that was bigger than people. Like, there was something that was addictive to that. I liked being big. You know, I was at, like, 220, 230 pounds. I'm only 5'10". Like, there was something about it, you know, where you wouldn't fit in clothes properly, or your arms or shoulders or your back was kind of bulging out. Or, like, you know, I got addicted. Dude, there was a point where I couldn't put my seatbelt on properly in my car because reaching back. And I loved that. It became a part of my identity. And that's something that I'm struggling even with now, not being, like, a big guy anymore. And, like, you know, I'm still athletically built. I'm still exercising every day. But there's something in my head that's telling me, like, you need to be bigger. And that was something that was really difficult about, you know, starting, like, intermittent fasting, or starting, like, especially cutting carbs, because my first thought was, like, I'm going to shrink. Yeah. It's like, dude, even if you shrink a little bit, you're still, like, going to be a little bit above average in terms of size. Like, I'm sitting around 200 pounds still, like 195, 200 pounds. Like, even if I shrink a bit, it's like 185, still not tiny.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like a weird identity problem. Like, it's like, I got so addicted. Right? Yeah, I got so addicted to being, like, a big guy that now it's like I'm not a massive guy, and it's like, whoa, what even am I?
Yeah.
Like, what am I?
It's like you lost yourself. Like, what am I? No, I can totally relate.
I think that's funny that you mentioned that, because I feel like women are a little bit more open now in terms of, like, self-image and how we think of ourselves, and more and more it's starting to come out, and we're all supporting each other in terms of that. But I feel like for men, it's still not really spoken of, but men suffer from a lot of self-image issues. And it's really, really apparent in the fitness industry, like super apparent. And I think that, like, he still to this day struggles with it, because one day he'll be like, yeah, like, I want abs. And then another day he's like, you know, I don't want abs. Like, I want to be small. And then another day he's like, I want big legs. And then the next day he's like, I don't want it. I'm like, dude, like, these expectations, like, what do you want? Like, he's battling with his ideas of, like, what he wants to be, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of it comes from what other people think. I remember when I was starting to compete, I remember asking one of my buddies, I'm pretty sure it was Aiden actually, I asked him what was the hardest part of like your first competition. And he said like always worrying about being in a good position, like making yourself look aesthetic. And then I was like, oh, you mean like when you're on stage and posing? And he's like, no, dude, because I have this in my head that I need to be a bodybuilder, like just living. Like he's like, even like if I'm in class and I'm standing and I notice someone standing to that side, I'll turn so like they can see that my triceps a little bit bigger. Like different things. Like he's like it impacted him so much.
Yeah.
To the point where he's like, okay, I'm always in the eye of someone. I need to be aesthetic. I'm a bodybuilder. Like, what if they don't think I'm a bodybuilder? You know, like there's all these thoughts that run through your head when you're like kind of struggling with that stuff. That was just like the way I thought of it as well. Because like if I walked into a gym, I would almost layer up sometimes, because if I felt too small, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I'll put like a t-shirt on and then like a long sleeve t-shirt on over top and then like a hoodie on, maybe wear a toque and put the hood on so like no one can see how small I am, you know, like I have like all these thoughts is like, oh, it'll make me look a little bit like puffier, and I just wanted to be big. It got like so into my like identity of who I thought I was.
And then if someone says something about your calves, you just break down.
Anything. Oh, anything, man. Anything. And it got to the point as well, like this is how obsessive I can get. I'm sure you guys are probably similar to where like there was no way to compliment me at all.
Yeah.
Someone was like, oh, you look bigger. I'd be like, oh, I'm probably getting fat.
Yeah.
Someone's like, oh, dude, you're looking slimmer. Like you're looking leaner. It's like, fuck, I'm getting way too skinny. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, no matter what, it was like I would just see the negative in whatever someone was saying.
Yeah. And I think like they gave me a thought that kind of ties into like the rest of your life too, where like you have, maybe not you, like I think I have this too, where like we have a problem of receiving things. I don't know, maybe that's probably,
I was just gonna say that.
That's probably why you have like you haven't saved when you were supposed to be saving, right? You kind of like receive it kind of goes away because like it that's an example right there where you can't even receive a simple compliment, right? You can kind of just like it feels like you're being humble and being noble, but there's something psychological with it too. Like I would do the same thing, like, dude, you got bigger, and then I'm like, no, I just got a haircut, so my head like is smaller and my chest is just bigger.
Yeah, or like someone like would tell me like, oh, that outfit looks so good on you. I'm like, oh, really? You know, it could look better. Like you look good. Instead of just being like, oh, thank you, right? Like, when's the last time you actually said thank you for whatever someone said about you? It's really hard. It is hard. But it's so important to be thankful for and receive like anything that comes towards us, because that's how you create abundance, right? And that's how you receive more after.
It could also be like you don't want to be perceived as cocky or like, or I don't know. And what I found is actually when someone's giving you a compliment, and if you actually receive it and say thank you, they actually feel good because they're like, oh, I'm able to give them something. But I think in our heads it's like, oh, if I say thank you, if I receive this, they're gonna think I'm a jerk or like I'm like someone higher, right?
Yeah, someone gives you a gift because they want you to receive it. They don't want you to turn it down. It's pretty rare that we give someone a gift and hope they turn it down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's kind of like it. Yeah. I remember like I have a weird like memory in my head that just like popped into my head when I was a little kid. I was probably like 9. And like one of my aunts got me a gift for like Christmas or my birthday, and I was like, I was like 8 or 9, and it was like maybe a gift for like a 5-year-old, and I was like, I don't like this, and my mom like gave me a whack, and she's like, why would you even say that?
Yeah, even
if you think it, don't say it. And then that, I guess, like, that's a weird thing, is like, it's like and no one wants to give a gift and have it be like not taken. It's like that's kind of like that's a new perspective I have on compliments, man.
Yeah,
I never actually thought of it that way, because like if
right?
you like you're like giving it to someone and they're like no, you're like, oh, that's weird. Like
yeah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or like even the smallest thing, like you grabbed food for someone, you know, like you went and got a coffee and you're like, oh, I'll just go get them coffee, and you bring them the coffee and you're like, oh, you shouldn't have, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, but I did.
mm-hmm.
You know, and like think of how many
and
times
it was
like,
actually kind of nerve-wracking for me to do. Like it was like, oh, I don't want them to think I like, you know, think of them like in a weird way, like why am I buying them coffee, and then oh, maybe it's the right thing, I'll just do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to do.
Yeah. And there's so many times where I just be like, oh, like, thanks, but you shouldn't have, like, or like my grandparents, they tend to like give me like money sometimes. I'm like, why did you do that? Like, just keep it for yourself, kind of thing. Because I'm thinking like, why, like they're retired, they should keep the money for themselves. But then I'm also not allowing them to give, which is actually a natural human instinct. Like humans want to give.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like that as well, actually. I just my grandma, the last time I saw her, tried to give me $20, and I was like, no, what are you doing? What? Like at the time I was working, I'm like, dude, I'm working, you're not. Like, why would you need money? Like, but then it's also, you're right, like that's like an opportunity for her to give. Like she's just like chilling, she wants to give things to people.
Yeah, we all want to feel like we're contributing to something or someone.
100%, man. 100%. 100%. We're coming up, dude. We're past an hour now. We're like,
yeah, I know. I was just looking at
chatting.
like,
yeah, I think it's like an hour and 20 minutes of recording now.
Woo.
So
dude,
this has been amazing. I'm really happy about this conversation. I actually gained a little bit of perspective shift as well, but I'm going to let you guys kind of end this one off. Like this is going to be your little personal message. You guys can do it one at a time, or you can tag team it, but I want you guys to just kind of give people a little dosage of positivity. Just give them something, whatever you got.
You have something? I have something.
You're on the
You can go.
I kind of want to keep it simple. I don't want to like rant on, but I think like especially at this time, where we have all this time, right? We're supposed to be productive. We're supposed to be healthy. We're supposed to be doing all these things, all these expectations. I think the best thing to do right now is kind of like just accept what's going on in your head, like kind of accept who you are. Obviously not like, okay, you're just going to be a pig forever. You're just going to be like just playing video games forever. It's okay to do that. No, what I mean by accepting is like accept who you are right now. Like you're not this person who's supposed to like make, I don't know, 500K in a year. You're not this person who's supposed to be, oh, sorry. I was just looking at Michelle's dad. He often scares us when he's outside the balcony. But anyways, so much for my passionate spiel there. But
that's okay, man.
But accept like who you are. Like find out who you are. Accept that like you're a good person. You have good intentions, and if you don't accept yourself, you won't be able to move forward, because the only way you can move forward is with you, right? Like if you're always blocking yourself, then you can't, right? So I think like my message is just like forgive yourself. Forget all your mistakes, learn from them, analyze them properly, and then I think that's like the first step of moving forward, especially during this time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's funny because I was actually just thinking about forgiveness as well, and it was just to forgive yourself. I think that's like one of the most important things that I've learned in the past couple of years is that forgiveness is super, super powerful and very important, because we're always going to be growing, and growth comes with pain. It comes with, challenges. It comes with mistakes, right? But those mistakes are all meant to happen, and you have to forgive yourself for anything you made a mistake in. Forgive yourself for being hard on yourself. Forgive yourself for hurting someone, maybe. Forgive yourself for anything, because as a human, that will happen. And I think once you forgive yourself, you can move on past that and move on to the next steps of life, and realize that you will always have to forgive yourself and forgive others too. That holding grudges is not going to serve you. And that's, I think, the biggest message.
We also want to say, like, thank you for, like, giving us an opportunity to, like,
this was dope.
To, like, share who we are, share, like, our thoughts, and be able to teach others through you.
You know, what you're doing is amazing, too.
Yeah,
just, like, bringing about people together and sharing messages and
like,
helping others.
Connecting with other people locally, that's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I just, my whole concept, my whole idea was, you know, I struggled from mental health for a long period of time, and it's just because, like, I never educated myself. I never spoke about it. No one ever spoke about it to me. It was just like a weird gray area. And then little topics like that, I guess, interested me. Like, why don't we talk about these things? So it was kind of like a little bit my passion, just to talk about the things that we're not always comfortable talking about, like weaknesses, or, you know, like, I want to show everyone on social media is always, like, you know, showing, like, the best parts of their lives, and, like, all the time. Like, I want to show, like, some of the more authentic, you know, like, this is what I suck at. This is where I need help in my life. This is something maybe I'm good at that I can help you with. Like, let's try, like, let's all grow together. Like, why are we all, like, and everyone always competes, man. Like, why don't we just grow together? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, that's kind of, I like getting, you know, different perspectives. I've spoken with a lot of trainers, but that's because I know a lot of trainers. So I'm trying to branch off and find other people as well, and just talk about, you know, different things that people don't necessarily, like, always talk about, and, you know, how we can impact those things, like journaling or fitness or nutrition or sleep, like different things like that.
Yeah. I like how you want to kind of show our weaknesses and our flaws, because I think that's because there's so much, like, glitter and glamour on, like, social media. Everything looks good, but majority of people are going through something bad right now, and they can't really connect to that. By us sharing our flaws and weaknesses, they're like, oh wow, these people are going through it too. It's like, I'm normal, you know. There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah, it's not even. Sorry, you go, Michelle.
Even if you don't directly help them, right? Just them seeing you going through something helps them not feel alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not always, like, even about, you know, like, obviously with this pandemic, people are struggling, but it's not even about that. It's just, like, in everyday life. Like, you know, we show, like, oh, this is me, like, oh, I'm done my workout with my really healthy meal, and, like, this is something I'm kind of, you know, something like I do all the time, where it's like, okay, I'll show, like, my healthy meal, and then it's like, well, we don't really show when we mess up. You know, we never show that. Like, no one ever. I remember, like, a few months ago when it was snowing, I would go for my bike rides, and I fell because it was icy and snowy. So I took pictures of, like, when I fell down, because I was like, you know, it's funnier to do that. Like, it's funnier for me. Like, it's like, you know, this is where I fell down. This is where I suck. Like, you know, I made a story today, and, like, this is something I'm trying to do a little bit more often. It's just like, this is something I suck at. Like, I need some help. This is something I'm not really great at. You know, like, it's just something that it annoys me about social media. It's like, people are always like, oh, this is how awesome I am, and this is how amazing. It's not relatable. It's not, like, it doesn't help me. I don't feel like I know you. It's like, it's just a weird, like, thing. Like, it's a, you know, you don't like get to know someone until you see, like, where, you know, they have pros, but they also have some, you know, I would say maybe not downfalls, but areas of growth, right? Like, that's how you kind of get to know someone. That's how you kind of get to know someone. And then you can, like, share, oh, hey, I've dealt with that, or my buddy dealt with that, and this is what helped him out. Like, that
allows people to trust you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it shows us where we can actually grow, right? Like, if I have a problem and I'm struggling with it and I never talk about it, then it's just the problem. But if I have a problem and then I talk about it, and then maybe, like, Novette, you're like, hey, Michelle actually dealt with something like that before. This is how she fixed it. Then it's like, well, not only am I not alone now, but I actually have some sort of a plan. Like, I have a suggestion. I have more information. Like, it's like, there's only plus sides to talking about things like this.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Cool. Well, we got Nori Athletics, everybody. Michelle, Novette, thank you so much. It's been a blast. I'm going to throw off the recording now. I just got to find my mouse on my computer screen.